Hello, this is Mark from I Am Organic Gardening on this beautiful winter day. Wait a minute, it's 70 degrees out. It's almost the end of February in zone 6B, and I'm going to start planting. But first I'm going to go over some spring prepping techniques for the back to Eden garden. This is not our typical winter weather or early spring. The temperatures have been higher than normal, but I'm going to take a chance and start planting up some sugar snap peas to help grow soil. Now I'll explain a little bit further in that in details when I start that process. But for now, I'm going to go over what I have to do for garden prepping. So last fall I decided to start growing soil. The wood chips is not enough. You have to have a living root in the ground. Now I'm going to be planting inside the green area only of all the products that I wish to plant. Tomatoes, squash, watermelons, whatever I choose to put in my garden, even carrot seeds. But there is different techniques to use. Now there's only two that are really has to be looked into when trying to plant into this high mixture of permanent roots. Now it's too early in the season to cut this down and it will grow taller. So what do we do when we want to plant, let's say, radishes or carrots? I'll show you. So you should never plant directly inside your wood chips here. If you do, you have to remove the wood chips aside and then go plant it into the soil, and I'll show that later to you. But for now, we're going to plant inside our green living area where we're growing soil. So to plant seeds directly into the soil, I'm going to show you two methods, or it's really pretty much just one method and just two different materials, and you can use more. You can use cardboard if you want to and weigh it down with rocks or even soil on top. Now, we have the 2x4 laying down that's in front of you, and also a brick or a paver here. Now what that's going to do, about maybe a week or 2 weeks ahead of time before you want to plant seeds, just lay this on top of the ground, and what it will do, it will kill the living cover on top. Not so much the root systems itself, but just the green grass or the green growth. And that's okay, because what you're doing is you're providing that plant a natural dying process. And what that's doing, it's telling the soil we're not getting any sunlight anymore, and it's going to make more mycorrhizal fungi spores in the ground. That's going to help your plants that or your seeds that you're going to be putting in the ground. So that's a natural process. So that's good. You're following nature's rules. Also remember to place this in your front of your row. So let's say the sunlight's coming in at this angle here. So it's going to hit this first. You do not want to put or plant your direct seeds back here, because this is going to be growing taller. So you want no restrictions from the sunlight, so plant in front of your row. So now a few weeks have gone by and things have died off, and now you want to plant your seeds. So let's say you have a handful of seeds and you're going to place them in the soil here. Now you're not going to disturb the roots or anything, no tilling, no nothing, no digging. You're just going to lay them on top. Then you're like, okay, now we got a problem. How do I get that in the ground? So grab a bucket full of soil ahead of time, your native soil, and if you want to, you can buy ingredients like worm castings and those types of things, or compost, and just come back, and let's say they tell you that you want to plant a 1/4 inch deep, just put a 1/4 inch of soil on top, and then you'll come back and water that down, and that's it. That's all you have to do, and you're going to have a perfect garden. And what's really nice about this, let's say the next day you get 2 inches of rain or 1/2 inch of rain or storms the next day. This area here is going to keep that soil in place. It's not going to run away. You have a buffer on both sides, so you're keeping those seeds inside that row, which is very nice. But you're also using the sunlight now to heat up that soil and not competing. Don't worry about the roots underneath. That's going to help whatever seeds you put in there to grow better. So I just took a couple of steps back, and this is where I was just showing that demonstration. Now the field behind it, way back here, we're gonna go walk in that field, and this is where we had about a foot of leaves, and that's compressed down to about 6 inches. And then I went in it once, and I just basically chopped them up a little bit more with the rototiller. I did not take the rototiller and go into the soil. I never wanted to disturb the soil. That's where everything lives, in that soil food web. I have moved to a different spot on my farm, but I want to show you here is that I had these leaves about a foot thick, and now they're about anywhere from 6 to 8 inches thick over the winter time. And you don't have to have a winter. They'll compress over time and start decaying on their own. Now, what's nice about this is what I'm going to show you. This is what it looked like last year when we go back to the green area. This is where leaves were that were about, like I said, 6 to 8 inches. Now I want to show you how much it's improved. I wanted to just show you that to give you kind of an idea what this looked like on this spot last year. Now, what that has done, that all those leaves have decayed. I did grow a crop in there of sunflowers and squash and zucchini. Now, after all that time last fall, I was able to get back in here and plant this green cover of winter rye, which is doing enormously well. Now I'm going to start, if I can do here, I'm going to just try to put my hands in here and see if I can dig up a patch. The ground is pretty moist. It hasn't rained in a week, but I think I can get my hands in there. Now that's what it has done. It has grown soil. Now, because all those roots are coming down and keeping it open. Now you can see how nice and light and fluffy it is. So remember, when you plant any type of your seeds directly into a cover and you kill off the top, those roots will go down nice and easily in there. There will not be any competition, will not steal nutrients away. All this area has been recycling nutrients all winter long, and that's what makes your plants healthy. You're out of season, you're up a little early this year. So we return to the back to Eden garden. So now, what if you didn't wish to plant a perennial living root in the ground like I did in those green strips on your right hand side? Now, if you wanted just to plant into soil. So I had this area by my trellises in the back to Eden garden. Now let's say you didn't have a living cover there and you want to plant directly into the soil, or you're just starting a back to Eden garden. You always have to plant directly in the soil. So the soil is behind the trellis here, and that's where we're going to be planting up some sugar snap peas. So now I want to get my soil healthy. So I want to grow soil. So we have our living cover over here. That was in our leaf field. Now what do I do here? Now, since it's early in the spring, I can plant some sugar snap peas ahead of time and get that soil working prior to even planting, let's say, watermelons in there or tomatoes. Because sugar snap peas should be ready in 60 days, and we're at the end of February, or in your zone, and then tomatoes go in later on in the season. So remember, you can never have too many roots in the ground. So I'm going to plant some sugar snap peas up. I'm going to also inoculate them. And because this is new area, this I've never planted in before in this area. I don't know if there's that rhizobium bacteria in there or anything else. So I want to grow soil, and it's been disturbed, meaning is that it's I brought soil over and put it almost in a raised bed here because I want to level it off. So I've done a lot of damage to the soil. So if you're just starting out, I'm going to plant the sugar snap peas, and I'm also going to be planting with it is some annual ryegrass. So the variety I'll be using is called Sugar Ann. It's a dwarf variety. It grows about 2 feet tall, and I'm going to inoculate it. And this is the inoculant I'm going to use. Make sure you get the right inoculant to use with your particular thing you're planting. This says peas on it, so that I know that's correct. And this is the rhizobium bacteria in that one. To apply, you just moisten the seeds and just sprinkle it on top, and then move it around the bowl so you have full coverage around the seeds, and you plant them up. Now, the only reason I'm using inoculant, a lot of people ask me this, when do you use it? I always use it in the first time planting in an area, just to be on the safe side. The inoculant, I think, runs around $5, or it's even less. Now, that's just a good insurance my first time. And in the previous years, I will not use it as long as I keep going back in there and keeping the soil food web alive. So now we have a row that I used a rake to remove the soil. And now we're just going to plant our seeds into it. We're just going to sprinkle them in. I'm not worried about how close they are because they're all going to be growing soil. Now, we'll just push the soil back and we're all set. So I still have a very large area that's soil that is not covered, and that's not good. You never want bare soil in your ground. So here, where I planted the peas in this row here and buried them up again, now I'm going to take some just annual ryegrass and just throw that on top. I want as many roots as I can. Now, you might be saying, gee, you're going to grow sod there. Yes, I am, because I wish to, you can put anything in there. You can put strawberry plants in there if you wish to. Anything to grow soil. I just choose this because at any time that I don't want it, or if I go to plant my tomatoes in or next, I can cut that down again. And then I still have those living roots in the ground and I'm not disturbing the soil. And just make sure after you plant your seeds that you give it a good rake on top to get them in the ground also. I stepped inside out of the wind. It was getting way too windy out there to do the rest of the film. What I want to do is take a sample of this inoculant. It almost looks like pepper or kind of like gunpowder. And we're just going to take a small amount here. Put a little bit back in here. And then we'll shake it up a little bit. And then we're just going to take a drop. This water has been distilled. And we're going to put on the slide like so. And we'll just take a glass lens and put it on top. And then we're going to take a look underneath the microscope. Now we're just going to take our lens and put it underneath the microscope. And turn it on. And we'll see what we got. Okay, this is what we have underneath the slide right now. This is at 100 magnification. So let's make the screen a little bit larger so we can see better here. And you're not going to see actually living bacteria moving around. What they sell you is spores, which is a round globe. It's almost like a little tiny little marble in here that's inside this packing material. Now, let's switch this to 1,000. There we go. And we need to zoom in here. Here we go. This particular one right there and here, they're not going to be perfectly round, but these are spores. And what it is, it's locked inside a capsule right now that it does to protect itself, and this can stay alive in your soil. Now it's actually living inside this encapsule and it's dormant. Now when the plant root comes down like so and then sends out a signal, this spore will come or break open and then invade the root and start making nitrogen inside the root. That's how it works. This is a great little demonstration of all the things that can sit in your soil for thousands of years, or even more or less depending on what environment it is in nature. But that root will come down and then it will send out a signal to invade the plant. It's actually looking for these. These are the spores. This is another spore here. And they will open up and then invade the root. So when you're buying the inoculant, you're just buying the tiny little spores. There's nothing living in here, but you're adding more spores in that area if there's nothing there. They usually are there. They'll survive for a long period of times in the soil, even if it's disturbed, because it's inside a little capsule. What you're just doing is you're putting more resources available to that spot. So when the plant starts growing and the root hair starts coming out, that these will wake up and invade into the root of the plant and start making nitrogen for that legume. So I hope you found this video very interesting today, and I thank you for taking the time to look at it. And if you haven't done so, please subscribe, and I'll get back to you shortly with another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.